Just in time for fun.
$900 billion, 11 aircraft carriers, 1.32 million active duty troops, 60 allied nations, and a defense budget that accounts for roughly 1/3 of all military spending on the entire planet. Most people know the United States has a powerful military. Very few people know what that actually means in concrete terms, because the numbers are genuinely difficult to process at the scale they operate. China has the second largest military budget in the world. The U.S. spends approximately 3 times what China does on defense, and that is before counting the allies. When you add up the collective military spending of U.S. alliance partners, those two groups, America and its partners, account for roughly 2/3 of all global military expenditure combined. The question this video answers is the one the headline alone cannot tell you. What does American military power actually look like at the level of hardware, people, and capability that most people never see in a single place? Subscribe to Daily Soldier now. This channel is built for people who want the real picture, not the summary. 1.32 million people. Start with the people, because the human scale of the U.S. military is the thing most coverage glosses over fastest. According to Pew Research Center analysis of Department of Defense Manpower Data Center figures published in June 2025, the U.S. military had 1.32 million active duty members as of March 2025. That is a 1.5% increase over the prior year. And that number does not include the Reserve or National Guard. The Army alone accounts for nearly 450,000 of those active duty members, the largest of any branch. The Navy has approximately 334,000. The Air Force and Marine Corps follow. The Space Force and Coast Guard round out the list, each with fewer than 50,000 active duty members, but both growing, with the Space Force expanding 6.1% in 1 year. Those 1.32 million people are assigned across every U.S. state and internationally. 86% are stationed domestically. 14% are stationed internationally, which means roughly 185,000 American soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines are stationed on foreign soil at any given time, not deployed to combat, just permanently assigned abroad as part of the forward presence that underwrites the security of U.S. allies across Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. California has the single largest concentration, with approximately 157,000 active duty military. Virginia and Texas both exceed 100,000. Vermont has the fewest, with 128. That forward presence is not an accident. According to Brookings Institution research by Michael O'Hanlon and General David Petraeus, the United States leads a globe-spanning system of alliances and partnerships that includes roughly 60 countries, collectively accounting for 2/3 of global economic output and military capacity. The U.S. military is not just an American institution. It is the backbone of an alliance structure that no other country on Earth comes close to matching. The budget and what it buys. The defense budget number that most people see quoted is the base figure, currently in the range of $850 billion to $900 billion annually. But the Brookings analysis provides context that makes the number meaningful rather than just large. U.S. defense spending during the Cold War averaged approximately $525 billion per year in current dollars. Today's budget substantially exceeds that baseline, even with the post-2011 reductions that were made. The pre-9/11 defense budget ran around $400 billion. The current figure represents a force that is better equipped, more technologically sophisticated, and more globally deployed than anything that existed during the Cold War. And it sits at approximately 3% of GDP, a share the Brookings analysis describes as not an undue burden on the U.S. economy, and in fact a bargain given the peace, security, and international stability it underwrites. What does that budget actually buy? The clearest answer comes from looking at specific categories where the U.S. military operates. In the words of the Brookings analysis, in a totally different league from the militaries of other countries, naval warfare, 11 nuclear-powered aircraft carriers. No other nation has more than 2. Each carrier is accompanied by a carrier strike group that includes cruisers, destroyers, submarines, and support ships. A single U.S. carrier strike group represents more naval firepower than the entire fleet of most countries. The United States has 11 of them, each one capable of projecting air power within range of any coastline on Earth, each one a sovereign U.S. territory moving at 30 knots. Precision strike capabilities. During the Gulf War in 1990 to 1991, precision-guided munitions accounted for roughly 10% of all ordnance used. In recent conflicts, that figure has risen to approximately 90%. The ability to strike a specific target with accuracy measured in feet from thousands of miles away, using data fed by satellites and drones operating simultaneously in multiple theaters, is a capability that took decades and hundreds of billions of dollars to develop. No adversary has replicated it at U.S. scale. Air power. The U.S. Air Force and Navy together operate more advanced combat aircraft than any combination of adversaries. The F-35 program, whatever its cost controversies, has produced over 1,000 aircraft to date across 3 variants, with stealth and sensor fusion capabilities that remain unmatched in production-scale deployment. Intelligence and reconnaissance. The combination of satellite systems, surveillance drones operating on near-continuous rotations, and integrated data-sharing networks means U.S. forces operate with a battlefield picture their adversaries simply cannot replicate. This is what the Brookings analysis calls the sensor-shooter loop, the ability to find a target, share that data across the force in real time, and strike it with precision, all in a time frame that was impossible a generation ago. Before we keep going, if this is landing differently than you expected, hit the like button right now. It takes 2 seconds and tells the algorithm to put this video in front of more people. Now back to the story. Special operations. Here is the layer of American military power that almost never makes it into the standard comparisons of force size, and it is one of the most significant. The United States Special Operations Command, SOCOM, oversees approximately 73,000 special operations personnel across all branches. That includes Army Rangers, Green Berets, Delta Force, Navy SEALs, Air Force Special Operations, Marine Raiders, and dozens of supporting units and enablers. 73,000 special operators is larger than the entire active-duty military of most U.S. allies. These forces are deployed globally, not periodically, but continuously. At any given time, U.S. Special Operations Forces are operating in over 80 countries. Some of those missions are combat. Some are training partnerships with allied forces designed to build their capacity to fight alongside or in place of American troops. Some are intelligence collection. Some are counterterrorism. Most are never publicly reported, and the ones that are reported are usually reported weeks or months after the fact. The logistics infrastructure that supports that global special operations presence is itself a capability. The U.S. military can move personnel, equipment, and supplies to almost any point on Earth faster than any other military institution in history. The Air Force's strategic airlift fleet, built around the C-17 Globemaster III and C-5 Super Galaxy, can deploy heavy equipment across intercontinental distances. The Navy's sealift capacity can move an armored brigade worth of equipment. The combination means that the 1.32 million active duty force is not just deployed in 80-plus countries at baseline. It can surge to almost any location with forces and equipment on timelines adversaries have to account for in their planning. The Brookings analysis identifies special operations as one of the domains where U.S. forces play in a totally different league. That assessment reflects not just the number of operators, but the integration of intelligence, logistics, and precision strike enablers that make U.S. special operations capable of missions no other country's forces can execute at the same scale, with the same speed, and with the same probability of success. What mainstream coverage never touches. Here is the dimension of American military power that the ship counts and budget comparisons consistently fail to capture. The United States has been building and refining its military systems, doctrine, and institutional knowledge since 1945. That is 80 years of continuous learning, combat experience, institutional memory, and iterative improvement that cannot be purchased with a defense budget increase or replicated by building more ships. The Brookings analysis makes this point directly. The total stock of modern U.S. military equipment is worth perhaps 10 times that of China's. But beyond the equipment, the real gap is experience. The U.S. military has been engaged in active combat operations nearly continuously since 2001. Its officer corps, its non-commissioned officer corps, its logistics systems, its intelligence fusion centers, and its joint command structures have been stress-tested in real combat, refined by real casualties, and improved by real lessons in a way that a military that has not fought a sustained engagement cannot replicate from peacetime exercises. General Petraeus and Michael O'Hanlon wrote in the Brookings assessment that U.S. forces have few, if any, weaknesses at the current moment. That assessment carries the weight of people who have seen the force operate from inside it. There is also a number from the Pew Research Center data that does not show up in force comparisons, but matters for understanding American military power as a sustained national capability. 79% of American adults said in an October 2024 survey that they have confidence in the military to act in the public's best interests. In the same survey from March 2025, 76% of Americans identified the United States as the world's leading military power, and 69% said in an April 2024 survey that a strong U.S. military makes the world safer. A military that maintains that level of public trust and political support across partisan lines has a resource that force structure comparisons do not measure: the sustained domestic legitimacy to recruit, fund, and deploy at scale for decades at a time. That is what enables the 80-year investment that produced the force that exists today. Answering the question, so here is why the U.S. military is far bigger and more powerful than most people ever realize. 1.32 million active duty people, with another 800,000 or so in the Reserve and National Guard available for mobilization. A defense budget 3 times larger than China's, accounting for roughly 1/3 of all global military spending. 11 aircraft carriers with strike groups that can project air power to any coastline on Earth, compared to a maximum of 2 for any other country. 73,000 Special Operations Forces deployed across more than 80 countries continuously, supported by airlift and sealift capacity that can surge additional forces and equipment to almost any location on intercontinental timelines. Precision strike capability covering 90% of all ordnance used in recent conflicts. An alliance network of 60 nations accounting for 2/3 of global economic output and military capacity, meaning the United States never fights alone by default. And 80 years of institutional knowledge, combat experience, and doctrinal refinement that cannot be purchased at any price. The people who know this best are not the ones quoting defense budgets in congressional hearings. They are the soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines who operate inside it every day and who understand, from personal experience what it actually takes to keep a force of this scale ready to fight anywhere on Earth on short notice. They also know what it costs in ways that no budget number captures because they are the ones paying it close. There is a soldier somewhere right now in a country most Americans could not find on a map, as part of a training mission or a security cooperation program or a counterterrorism operation that will never be reported on the news. He is there because the United States made a decision 8 decades ago that it was going to build and maintain a global military presence. And it has sustained that decision through every administration, every budget cycle, and every strategic shift since the end of World War II. He is not thinking about defense budgets or alliance structures or the Pew Research numbers on public confidence. He is thinking about the mission in front of him, the people to his left and right, and what comes next. He might be in Germany or Japan or Djibouti or somewhere without a publicly acknowledged U.S. presence. He is there as part of the forward footprint that the numbers in this video are built on. The force he serves in is the product of everything this video just described, and the people who built it, maintained it, and continue to operate it every day are the reason it still exists. If this gave you a real picture of what American military power actually means in concrete terms, subscribe to Daily Soldier. And tell us, after seeing everything that goes into this force, what do you think is the single most underappreciated element of U.S. military power? Thanks for watching.